tonight.
Absolutely.
All right. So my name is Brittany, just in case you weren't aware. And I'm one of the Double Diamond leaders on the Money Squad. And so I'm really excited to hear your story again. Like I've heard it a few times on the Diamond and Above calls and stuff. And so I'm really excited to really dig and dive into your story and get some juice from you tonight. So without
Absolutely.
further ado, I'm going to let you introduce yourself and tell the squad who you are. Share about who you are, where you're from, what life looked like prior to It Works, what life looks like now, and one because of It Works.
You got it. All right. Hi, everybody. How we doing tonight? Let me just get to know you guys real quick before I launch in. Where drop in the comments, where are you in terms of, hi, Rachel. Where are you in terms of location? What are you shooting for? Right? Who's going for Christmas cash in the next 48 hours? What is it, 72 hours? Who's going for Christmas cash? Awesome. Yes. I also drop a 1 in the comments if you are, if you joined in the last 6 months. Drop a 2 if you've been in 2 years or less, but more than 6 months, and drop a 3 if you've been in longer than 2 years. I just want to see who's here. Awesome. Okay, we've got some good experienced people here tonight, so that's awesome. All right, so I am so excited, you guys. I'll tell a little bit about me. Obviously, though, this is all about what are we working for the next 72 hours. But so I'm an ambassador diamond. I live in Florida now, but when I started, like many people, I needed extra money and was really struggling. I had a good job. I went to kind of fancy schools or whatever, but our finances were a mess. We were just in a lot of debt. My now ex-husband has started a business. And so, nobody knew this in the town that we lived, but it was failing and in the red, and we just owed money in every place. And we hid that for years. So we were in a really bad financial place. And that was obviously a huge motivation to join. I had a girlfriend that lived down the street that was a double diamond within 12 months, and she was absolutely killing it, making tons of bonuses. And I was like, whatever you're doing, I need to sign up. We'll figure it out how it works. But as many people know now, I was also in an abusive marriage. So physically abusive, verbally abusive, a relationship that ended up lasting 10 years. So a long-term, really terrible situation. So I enjoy It Works because of that. Technically, I wasn't even in an emotional or mental place where I was ready to leave. I just thought maybe the situation would get better if we started making more money, if we had more money and the budget was balanced. So anybody who's gone through abuse or had, loved ones go through that, it's not like you're always thinking very rationally. You're in survival mode. So I was just how can we make this incrementally better? That's where my head was. But, I really believe there's just so many parts of my story where I really feel like God had a hand. And this is just one of them, because if I joined any other company, I'm not sure that any of the things that happened the last 7 years, but especially those first 2 years that got me out of that situation, would have happened. There's no company that has our culture, we're just so special. And so long story short, I started having success. I went diamond in 4 months and double in 12. I made the first 2 cruises. I went to a ton of events, and that really helped me rebuild my self-esteem, my friendships, all of that. And some of you have heard me tell this part of my story, but I just want to share, because the beginning part in many ways is so critical. And I know I'm not the only person that is a domestic abuse survivor, potentially even listening tonight, but certainly, on your team. So, but I climbed out of the mindset piece, not having planned that, but through It Works, it really, between having, hope, having faith again, having the sisterhood and the culture, the money was just the blessing that paid the bills. So, that's kind of where it brought me the first couple of years, and I was double diamond when my divorce went final, but it took me 2 years to kind of get to that place in my personal life. And then when I came out of that, honestly, and this is so relevant to what we're going through the next 72 hours, within a week, I just woke up and I literally, it was totally divine. It was like, why I've been in the business 2.5 years. Why am I holding myself back thinking I'm only going to be a diamond or I'm only going to be a double diamond? I was really stuck in that mindset. I don't know if even Rachel's heard me talk about this before, but I was really stuck in that mindset of like, I'm never going to get 30,000 GV. Like I make jokes about it. Oh, 30,000 BB. I'll never have 30,000 BB. Ha ha. Like I just was like, that was just, I had boxed myself in. And I'll never do this. I never thought I'd be VIP. And just something woke it up in me a week after the divorce went final. And I said, no, like this company is a vehicle for me to have every single thing in my life, leaving my corporate job. I'm a single mom now, like all of that. And so just keep the story not super long. I made that decision, and it really is a decision. That is exactly where we are right now. I made that decision, you guys. I had 2.5 years. So a lot of you, I know you guys have been in 2-3 years, and you might have periods of doubt. Like, if I haven't done it yet, can I still do it? If I look at somebody that's gone triple or presidential, there's something about them that I lack. I think we really think about what we lack a lot, and there's a lot of comparison game, right? Especially when you've been in 2 or 3 years. And so I just had a decision though. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to stop caring what's going on around me and just go for this for me and my son. And within 6 months of the decision, I went from like maintaining a very strong diamond at that time to triple diamond. All of a sudden, like I was getting messages from Cammie Pentecost and Stephanie Dunn, who is my ambassador upline. And God bless her, I was fully coded to her and Joel, so they made a little money off of me. So they, that was just, but honestly, that didn't happen to me my first year. That happened to me in basically the end of my 4th year. And from there, guys, the last few years, as many of you, if you've been in, I've been on at conference stages and all this amazing stuff has happened with the company. But the biggest thing for me is really the freedom that I have day in, day out to, be a single mom, now a domestic abuse advocate. We moved to Florida. I built my business up in New England, but we moved to Florida. So we have this amazing house now, and it's just been such a blessing. But the first 2-3 years was just tremendous personal growth. And there's been multiple times the last 3-4 years where I've had to come back and make new decisions, say new whys. What are my new goals? Because I've hit a goal and I'm like, okay, well, what's the reason I'm continuing? And so obviously now I have this parallel work that I do in domestic violence, and without my It Works paychecks, I wouldn't be able to do it. So I'd have to go back and get a corporate job. So it's been awesome. I don't even remember if I answered all your questions.
You did.
Okay, good. I have no problem talking, but sometimes I'm like, what did she actually ask? Did I say?
Okay. So even though you say, your first 2 years, you didn't really take off, but you said you went diamond in 4 months and double in 12, right? So that's not a small feat.
It wasn't bad. No.
Right. I was going to say that's not a small feat.
No. You're right. That's a good correction.
Yes. You had so much going on personally and still had that personal growth to go ahead and tap into. But we talked about this on Monday. How did you thrive still being where you were and still in a place of becoming, but you were still able to thrive with the domestic going on and, being a lawyer and all of that? Like, how did you still thrive in the midst of that?
Yeah. Well, so I should say, so one of the things about me, I don't know if you guys are big on colors, but I'm very balanced between red and green. I'm very green. I'm very red. And so I know about myself, the other thing I should mention is I'm turning 45 this month. So I'm not like a spring chicken. Okay. So by the time I started the business, I was 38. And so I had worked a lot in my life already. I've been 20 years, plus working. I knew that I needed a routine. And so that's the first thing, is I built up a successful routine. And I know people beat themselves up if they look backwards and say, well, wow, she's talking about being consistent and that's not me. But I say to my team all the time, it is not important to, I mean, you should not live in regret of what you haven't done. It literally serves you 0%. All you can do is take lessons from what you have not done and course correct and go forward. But sitting in guilt and regret and like paralyzing yourself emotionally, not good. So I say that because, guys, I didn't take a day off of my business with all that crap going on. A day off of my business, I swear, until I was about 4 years in. Now, that didn't mean every single day I was spending like 7 hours on the business, because obviously I didn't have time. I had a 50-hour-a-week job, a baby, a horrible situation with my marriage, and I ended up having a team, develop. So I had to pour into them as well. So what did I do? I just really honestly found a time every day that I made non-negotiable. And it was such a muscle memory from day one that I if I didn't do it, I felt really wrong. And what that specifically was, I put my son down to sleep. And then at 8:39, I'd sit down for 30, 45 minutes. Now, people, I'll just tell you straight up, before I started the business, I was not a night person. I could easily, poop out on watching a Bravo show or something by 9 o'clock. Okay. But I was working then. So why did I do that? I can't even really put into words why, because it was such a vibe. It was more like, I can't live like this anymore. And I refuse to, and this is from day one. And I think that's why I did move quickly, is because I was in survival mode in my life. Again, I wasn't looking at It Works as a way to get out of the abusive situation with more money, but I was in survival mode nonetheless. And I don't know if that makes sense at all, but it literally was just that fierce determination combined with I knew I had to have a routine. And so what happens is people either lack in really those two one or both of those departments. So you have to be in survival mode, but you have to have a strong focus of why you're doing it, of course. And then the second thing is, the biggest thing I've seen is people put this, because the business is voluntary, you don't have a boss, they deprioritize it. Whereas if you think, this is why I thought about it differently, because I was in survival mode, but to me, it wasn't voluntary. If I didn't make that freaking $500 to $1,000 in my first, month or two, like shit, excuse my language, but shit was going to hit the fan. So not everybody's going to be in that emergency place. Like, it may be like you're doing the business in part for fun or to pay for products. That's totally fine. But just know that if you want to be really successful, and if you want to be successful, it's usually because there is a why there, right? You have a real why, and we've got a lot of veterans on, so you guys all know why you're doing this. If you look deep at a minimum, then you have to have the routine. So honestly, so people ask me this all the time. I was in another, like, my brain was just in another place. It was like, I cannot fail. Failure is not an option. And that's the only reason why from a mental perspective, I went through that. And routine wise, I just followed through with that, like, super stupid consistency. The other thing I did from the beginning, which I just will throw out there, is I was never afraid of following up, and I was never afraid of asking people about the business from day one. I think because I needed money so bad, I didn't get stuck in my head that this business, like, I was asking people for favors, which is what a lot of people do when they're so scared. You're like, no, you're not asking them for a favor. You're giving them an opportunity. But a lot of people get stuck in that mindset. And then I wasn't afraid of following up, not in an obnoxious way, but just like, it never occurred to me to not follow up. So, and that was, again, I think just more my mindset of needing to be successful. If we apply that to right now, let me just close with this. If we apply that right now, how badly do you need that $3,500? Like, what are you going to use it for? And then we're going to have another bonus announced on the 15th. How badly do you need them? I said to myself 6 weeks ago, I can talk about my own Christmas crash journey at some point if you want. It's not very exciting, but bottom line, I was like, okay, I've been spending a lot of time on my nonprofit. I cannot not get this $3,500. And I sat down and made a plan, and within 5 weeks, I got it done. Now we have 72 hours. So, trying for round two, you just have to say, this got to happen. And then you figure it out.
So good. So many things you said in there.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just a talker.
No, but it comes down to the decision and knowing why you're here. Like knowing what you want and then the decision to go get it. So there's a fine line between desperation and urgency. So I want you to touch on how did you move and how do you move with a sense of urgency, but not be desperate at the same time?
Oh, such a good question. And so, and I think a lot of it does build with confidence. Okay, let's just be honest. Like once you've been successful, it's a lot easier because you have faith in yourself, in the business and the process that things are going to come together. So a lot of it is taking the action and having the baby steps. One of the biggest things, the only reason I went triple in my third, fourth year when I was so determined was because I had incremental, smaller successes and I was so stupid consistent my first 4 years. I mean, I still am, but you're like never took a day off, ever. And so I think that the biggest thing is start racking up the small wins, and that's going to give you the confidence to work urgently, but not feel like, holy cow, I'm bouncing on this precipice and I'm going to fail. But I think also everybody's so different. You have to know what your triggers are. And there's positivity triggers and there's negativity triggers. Some of that's going to be environment. Some of that's going to be, like what music are you listening to? Are you listening to worship music? I like to listen to club music. Like what puts you in a positive, aggressive, powerful mindset? Okay. If you're not in that mindset, what do you do to change? And you have to know that about yourself. And you're not just going to know that from day one you start this business. But again, if everybody's veterans, you probably know. What do you have to do? Are you somebody that needs to go to a coffee shop? Are you somebody that needs to work at 5 a.m. when nobody's up? Are you somebody that needs, I don't know, whatever, a run before it? Whatever you need to do to put yourself in that mindset of positivity, that'll help defray, kind of the negative emotion. And I talk about this a lot because one of the biggest tools I've used on my mindset is knowing what my positivity triggers are. Okay. Because we taught, people use that word a lot, trigger, to mean like a negative thing, but there's also positivity triggers, that mindset shifts. So just knowing what that is for you, if you're not in a good place and you need to get in a better place, dig into that well and use those positivity, triggers.
So good, girl. You got all the juice, okay? So as a green personality, a strong green personality, how did you overcome analysis paralysis and the need to know everything before you move and really, get things going? Like, how did you overcome that? Or how did you make it work for your good?
Yeah. There's a lot of good that comes from being green because you kind of know everything. You're like I know a lot of crap. I think that so first of all, because I don't want to forget to say this, I'm not going to defer from your question, but I did do a whole video because I'm one of the, there's a very small number of us at the top of the company or that have been at the top of the company that have as much green as I have. Okay. So I did make a video. It's on my YouTube, and anybody that's got a lot of green or you've got a green downline person, check it out. It's called How Not to Let Your Green Personality Limit You. And so it's a longer video than obviously we're going to have a time to talk about. But I think the upshot is that, I do have a lot of, my red and my green are very equal. And so every time that, my green has paralyzed me so many times. So many times. Like, let's start with that. It's not like I'm going to say like, it's not been bad. There have been times where it's been really, really bad. And I'm like, I saw Rachel post something, a while ago about something that she went through and worked through. And of course, I then was thought for a month, I should reach out to Rachel because I'm going through the same thing. But I just sat on that. Like, that's the kind of thing I do. I'm like, this would be really good to talk to her for 2 hours about. So, okay. So it stopped me many times. There's been many times, Christmas cash is an example. I'm always slower than everybody else to start on a new thing. Always slower. Why? I want to read all the rules. I want to see what the system does. So guys, you have an ambassador diamond telling you like, this is a fault. This is a flaw. It is always the case. So how do you get over it? First of all, I always counterbalance it with, I do have a lot of the goal orientation. I understand after 7 years, like by moving my feet, by taking action, by sending out the host post requests and putting up the videos and all that jazz, that's going to get me out of my standstill, because I'll start having things come in and I'll stop thinking so much. So some of it is like just push through the actions and stop thinking. And again, as people that are in their second, third year that we have on here, if you've got green, then it's something that you just have. It's a muscle that you have to develop to redirect yourself. I mean, a lot of this, like everything else, is self-control and self-awareness. So some of it is just forcing myself into action, to be honest with you. Like I can observe myself and I'm like, okay. The good thing about greens is we're so analytical. We see our own flaws. Okay. We're not hiding from our own flaws. So that's one thing. I think the other thing is that just being around a lot, like for me, I need to be around a lot of reds. So if I feel myself being very green, I pull myself out of the yellow and greens friends groups that I don't pull myself literally, but like in terms of the company sideline sisters, I have so many great friends that are yellows and greens and some blues, but I go into my red friends. I'm like, where are all the people that like don't care about anything other than winning? Okay. And I'll kind of live in that space for a while. Okay. So it's your circle, your environment. Those are another way to shake it up. I'm trying to think what else. I think also, just like we were talking about earlier, like when you are more experienced, you move faster out of feeling like you need to know everything. If people here were newer, or you guys are coaching a newer green, the biggest thing I say to the greens that I recruit is I'm going to say, you're going to want to know everything about everything. We just, when they test green on a color personality test, or I just can tell, I hit it straight on. I do not dance around it. I'll say, I know you're going to want to know everything about everything. I totally, totally understand that. There's going to be times where I'm going to tell you, let's wait. I promise. You just have to trust in me. I promise you, we're going to get to a place where that's relevant. Or trust me, I promise you that's not relevant. And we'll hit that if and when it becomes relevant. But let's focus on this. So I will hit it on the head. I don't dance around it. The thing about greens is you can't deflect them or distract them without acknowledging their thought process. Okay. I don't know if that makes sense. You can't tell us, well, what well, don't worry about it, Mira. You have to say respectfully, like in a good, calm manner. That's a really great question. Let's talk about that in 2 months once you've hit Ruby. Or once you've hit diamond. Just trust me. Like you have to have that. If you blow them off, like they're intellectually not, like it just doesn't work. Anyways, a lot more green tips on that video. I don't want to spend the whole time talking about greens, but that's some of the things that I think are important.
That's so good, because I did a tips and I was telling the squad, like the color personalities are more so for you to be aware so that you can have those things in place when those hurdles or those barriers come that are coming. And I'm the same way. I'm real blue, but when it's time to win, I'm with my red friends. We got to get the wins in, okay? So now we are in a place to where we are desiring to prospect up and, get the lawyers and, the more prestigious people in, but we're intimidated or can be intimidated. And I'll say me, because, sometimes I might second guess to reach out to somebody that I think doesn't need this. So can you help us or can you shift our perspective with that? Or can you help us and give us like some tips or some ammunition when we're going in to reach out and prospect people of that stature or higher?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think the first thing is that I would say is, when I started recruiting, of course, I recruited from my network, which had people from all different demographics, but I had a lot of people that went to Ivy League schools or had graduate degrees, making 6 figures in their job. I'll just tell you straight up. Let me just give you, first of all, so many people are in crazy debt. So, I mean, we were drowning in debt and I was making 6 figures at my job, so you have to know that, just because somebody is paid well doesn't mean they're smart with their finances. And, honestly, in 6 figures, if not spent wisely, goes real darn fast. So, I know that sounds ridiculous to people in some ways, but if you don't spend that money well, you're done, it cannot be good. The other thing that I would say though, is that people that are, making money, nobody wants to make less money. Like, people want to make more money, and people respect multiple streams of income. Okay. At least a lot of people do. I mean, not everybody kind of gets that, but a lot of people do. So I think, just let me lay that context down first and foremost. Like, just because, somebody is maybe like a physician's assistant making 120,000 a year, or I know I was a lawyer, but then I became actually in the corporate business side for the last 7-8 years that I was working in corporate America. I was a vice president at a healthcare company. But again, I wasn't where we wanted to be financially, and nor were really most of my colleagues. By the time they pay the mortgage and preschool and all that other jazz, car payment, like the money. So I think the biggest thing is to not assume that people don't need money, and B, not assume that people don't want money. Okay, neither of those things are true, even if they happen to be making 6 figures or have a master's degree or whatever. I think that the other side of what you're saying, though, if I could just hit it straight on, is this person's smarter than me. And so I think that some people are like, because I just saw this myself, like, this person's like so accomplished. She's so, she's so well spoken. She's so, like, they're not that they're too good to do the business, but that you're intimidated to talk to them. Okay. Because they're articulate, they're just like one of those people that are really articulate and like have this amazing posture. Guys, they're racked with insecurities. I mean, I'm not saying they're not amazing. I'm sure but everybody's so racked with insecurities. The way that we see other people is not how they see themselves. So just keep in mind, all that you're doing is presenting an opportunity. That's all you're doing. And if one of the reasons I was so successful is because I was recruiting a lot of people like me, and we had insane networks for orders. Insane. I mean, people, so much disposable. I'm not talking they were rich, but everybody had disposable income for products. And so when I was, obviously I'm way into cold market now, but when I was in my warm market and recruiting distributors out of my direct network, their networks were like, sure, $150 on products, no problem. Whereas now, I do cold market, and people struggle with buying one product. So the other side of it is just like, put those red goals in front of you. You recruit somebody that has a network like that, they can bring an insane BV. They can make a ton of money themselves, right? It's not just about you, but they can make a ton of money. But then that's bringing just so much volume to your organization because of the network that they have. Does that help? I know I'm bouncing around a little bit.
Oh yeah, that was good. Especially when you were like, it's intimidating. Like, oh, I think they're smarter than me. Like that was good. That was.
Really I was gonna be honest about that one, because I've seen that people worry about that.
Yeah, that was good. Okay, so when you bring in a new distributor with the new Form 1 system in place, how do you create a sense of urgency for them so that they could go ahead and get going and be able to take advantage of what's on the table? Is it different from how you used to onboard prior to? Is it the same? Like, tell me what that
it's not that different. Like the videos, like our training newbie videos are not that different. Obviously the Form 1 overview is different. I think in some ways it's more powerful, because I just think like $150 is so much more exciting than the shopping spree. Like we all like the shopping spree. Don't get me wrong, but they've spent $150. So of course, to be like, hey, we want to get your money back, blah, blah, blah. And the other thing that I do, and I'm sure everybody does, is that it opens up all the $350 bonuses. So one of the things that I will say, like, I've learned the hard way with my green personality, is I very much give a very small sliver, skinny amount of information to people in different phases. So what I mean by that specifically with 4-in-1 is I don't go into any of the details about how they're going to earn the 350. I just say, let's focus on getting your 4 LCs. And then I'm going to teach you how to get the 150 and that first distributor. Again, usually we're doing spouse or mom or something like that as our first distributor, just so they comes in easy. Then once they've signed mom, if that's possible, mom, husband, whoever, then I'll sit down and say, let's talk about the 350 bonuses. You've just opened up 350 bonuses. I want you to understand. In parallel to that, that's also when we start really doing hardcore recruiting training. Okay. And I mean hardcore, like it's like that intense, but just like, I don't really talk about recruiting. Now, again, if Rachel teaches you something different, forget that you've heard all of that. But I really focus on just getting them comfortable with the 4LCs, get the 4LCs in. And then I talk about the 150 and we sign, but I'm like doing it in drips, as opposed to, okay, here's how we're gonna get your 500 cycle. And here's how we're gonna get Christmas cash from day one. My greed, of course, wants to tell everybody everything. But so many people are so overwhelmed, and like there's so much for them to learn just to sign the 4LCs and the products and all that jazz. I really keep it tight on that. And then I talk about the first distributor. And of course, sometimes they don't have mom or husband or whoever. So we'll go into recruiting and all of that. But that's typically the flow if they can. So the 150 pops pretty quick that way. And turn my own 350 or my team's 350.
Good. Love it. Just drip the information on them, walk them through. Yeah. Pretty cool.
But not that many changes, honestly, other than that little flow has changed.
Okay. Cool. So can you give a tip to those people who show up day in and day out, but they aren't moving? Like eSuite isn't moving. We see their face all the time on every power hour, power 30, whatever, but there's no eSuite action. Can you speak to them and like give a tip to those people who are on?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I went through that. I went through that phase myself in my second and third year when I was just going through a lot of transitions. So I definitely understand and all of that. Let me talk about it in this way. The way I teach my team, we've got three major things that you need to focus on. One is your network. Like, is your network dripping in? Is your network swimming? Okay. The second is your branding. So what's hitting your network? Okay. So you got people in and out all the time, host to post, friend requests, follow requests, all that jazz, giveaway posts. So you can get a ton of people in, whatever. Okay. Then you've got the branding. Is your branding tight and right? Are you posting every day? Are your stories every day? Are you doing reels? You have to do all of this, but you definitely have to have the network swimming and you need to have the branding right. And then the last piece is the asking and the follow-up, right? So this is like a modified core 4 for those of you who know what that is. So you have to look, if you've been in 2-3 years and things are not moving, I want you to take an honest look at, is your network swimming in and out? Is your branding tight and right? And then are you doing the asking and following up religiously? Okay. The first thing I say is if you're not getting leads and leads are happening, like, and you're really not doing network churn, you need to sit down for a weekend or whatever. It doesn't have to be a weekend, but just sit down and do a massive network churn. What do I mean by that? If you're a Facebook person, that's, take every few hours, do a massive amount of friend requests. Okay. Do a ton of host post giveaway posts. What I mean by that is, you can have your host repost the giveaway, and then everybody that wants to enter, they have to send you a friend request. So all of a sudden you got a whole ton of new friends coming in, and any one of you guys probably all know what I'm talking about. So I'm not going to dwell on that, but that's the biggest thing I find is that people have not done a massive network churn, or they're not being aggressive. But those are the three things I look at to give the answer short and sweet. And if you have, the last thing I will say, if you really want to hit home on this, grab an accountability buddy. So this, I guess, is the actual tip. Grab an accountability buddy that's in a similar position that you are willing to hear their voice and say, look at my timeline and tell me whether you think it's good. Okay. And then you can sit down and potentially, because I've had so many people come to me and they say, things are moving, and I look at their timeline, there's no branding and there's no posts, there's no anything. So I guess that's another thing, is using that accountability partner to really push yourself and refresh. And in turn, you're going to serve the same thing for them. So it's a great win-win for both.
Yes, it's about doing the things and doing them consistently. Like you can
Yeah,
show up,
I
no
wish there was a
problem.
better answer, but that's those three things: the network development, the branding, and the asking and follow up that's it, you know. And you're almost certainly something is not right in those three things, if not more than one of those things.
Okay. Um, so how are you thriving? Like where are your DTs come from? Is it reels? Is it host to post? Is it the lifestyle post? Is it the ask? Like how are you using your social media, especially in this climate where most of
Yeah.
us are building on social? How are you using it and what are you doing? Are you doing all the things or is it just one thing that's popping? Like give us some tips.
Yeah. No, so basically, historically, I've been somebody that built locally, and it was a combination from a lot of in person parties, events, all that jazz. With then I built through Facebook, not Instagram, historically, and I built my Facebook network to be all local women. Okay, by local I meant within my state, or one or two states up in New England. That's how I built like my first 6 years. And then if COVID hit and I moved to Florida. So literally I went ambassador. I'm like, let me move to Florida and have COVID hit and like have my whole business model like go to, whatever. So I have built my Instagram up. I have signed distributors off of that, but I really, at the end of the day, am a local girl. So I continue to add, I use Facebook groups to add local women. Obviously, I'm doing I love host to post. It's gotten me so far in this business, but I take breaks from it because sometimes, you have like, it's just too much of the same people. So when I take those breaks, I'm relying on really good, friend requesting consistently and attraction marketing. Um, so I will say that for distributors, like host post has been great for me, but I've always had to do a lot of attraction marketing posts at the same time, meaning telling my story, my lifestyle, and all that stuff. Because a lot of times when you talk to somebody off of distributor host post, they're not going to sign right away. They need to watch, or there needs to be something on your timeline that they like connect with. Not always, but it helps. So to me, so right now it's been a lot of attraction marketing hits, but from people that I've added from now Florida through the work I've done, just mining groups. When I was building up in Maine, in Portland, Maine, I owned to give you guys an example, there was a Maine toddler mamas Facebook group. Okay, it's like state of Maine, toddler mama, probably 4,000 people there at any given time. I swear I recruited like 30 distributors. It's like, honestly, that's my distributor, that's my distributor, that's my distributor, that's my distributor. But I recruited them out of that. Like I added, and I was just talking. That was because my son was a toddler. Those were my people. They could relate to everything I was talking about on my timeline. So now here in Florida, I look at just going into local moms groups, not the baby kids anymore. My son's 8, but a lot in his school, and there's a lot of stuff going on here. So a lot of mom stuff. So that's kind of how I like to build, and it's so fun to build locally because you can meet them for coffee, and it just feels so much more real.
Yeah, prior to COVID, we were like we dibbled and dabbled in social, but we were like belly to belly builders as well. So I'm okay. Give me a tip on the groups. I'm not a group person per se, but like so when you get in the group, are
Yeah.
you just friending people from the group, or are you like talking to them on a post and then friending them, or like how are you getting the people from the group to connect with you?
Yeah. So this is one of those things where you can't overthink it too much, or like will make you insane with the amount of time it takes. So what I do is, I'll have a group that I'm targeting, and I'll start just, posting in there a couple times the first week, couple times the second week, and then make sure I'm in there, for like 5 or 10 minutes every day, or almost. It doesn't have to be every day religiously, but like almost every day, commenting on other things. And then just so enough so that people have seen your name several times. And then after a couple weeks, I'll start adding. But the other thing is, like, with a local builder, what's cool is, like, you can, and I just love using social media to build locally, because it all like goes very circular. So for example, some of the people that will accept your friend requests like in 3 seconds are real estate agents locally. So you can go into local real estate agents. You're obviously not competing with them. Friend request a lot of real estate agents, and you can go in and you can like just mine their friends. And I just literally would add, some days I just add any woman that had like 4+ mutuals on a real estate agent's friends list. I mean, I didn't even overthink it. So those are just some ideas of what I've used. But the biggest advice I have to you, that again, I tell my team this all the time, is yes, we want to be real. We want to, like be active in the groups and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, just friend request everybody, because it truly is a numbers game. You don't know. It could be that there's so many times, honestly, where the person that wrote me and said, hey, I want to hear more about this, I didn't recognize where they came from, but I had friend requested them 4 months prior from some random person's friend list, from some random mom's group. You know what I mean? Like, it was just so random. And so just don't overthink, because you never know. You don't know. You just don't.
Yes, that's so good. That's why I say everybody is a gateway. Like, everybody is a gateway to someone else, and you never know where they're going to lead to. So regardless if they're purchasing or, signing up to become a distributor or not, it really doesn't matter, because they can literally lead you to somebody else or whoever, you're supposed to touch with this opportunity. So Christmas cash dropped. Did you like automatically attach your bonus to something tangible? Like when they said, okay, you do this, you do 4 and 1 3 times, you help those do 4 and 1, you get $5,000. And then Mark said you could do it however many times you want. Did you attach something to it? Like, why was it important for you to get your Christmas cash?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, for me, it's been super timely, because usually December is one of the harder months in the business, and I love that they did it, because it's just like, usually we're like, oh crap, before now we've got boom season literally right after it, so it's always okay. But so for me, there's just been a lot of personal goals I've had financially that because I'm building a nonprofit, I've kind of put on the back burner. So for me, I kind of looked at it, I'm like, this is like a life raft for certain, like paying off certain debt that I had wanted to pay off. And, I'm very goal oriented in terms of my financial goals every year. And I was way behind. So it's been awesome, because I it's just going to take care of like so much debt. And I'm so excited to be, I cannot wait to get the check. I can't wait to pay the debt off. It's going to feel so good.
That's so awesome. And so I want to talk about you walking into your and then what? Well, that's what we call it. So your non-for-profit, I would say, is your and then what. And so a lot of times we, if we don't feel like, our business is thriving well, or me, I feel like I have to put that on the back burner, and I can't do anything or move forward until I get things settled here. So how did you continue to or what made you press forward and walk in your and then what before maybe you were ready?
Yeah. Well, this is a bigger story, but to be honest, so in 2019, I started feeling called to tell my story. For a long time, I was very private about it. Most of the people that are my closest friends in the business didn't even know that I was a domestic abuse survivor. I mean, only a couple family members knew. And late 2019, I started like telling Cammie and some of my closer friends in the business more about that. But I just felt this amazingly powerful tug, this huge calling. Mira, you need to go tell your story. You need to go. I mean, totally felt called from an outside, like from God. I'm gonna just be direct about it. You have to tell your story. And I resisted it. I did not want, I'm a private person. I didn't want to tell my story. I just wanted to keep, quiet about it, so I didn't have to deal with what I felt was embarrassment, shame, and just a lot of complexity in my life with sharing it. It's really through It Works that I had a vehicle to start baby stepping into that calling and tell that story in more closed spaces with my team. And all that started coming together in 2020. And so it's just so weird. I mean, weird's not a good word, but literally It Works got me out of the situation. Now I feel like they're so entangled. My duty to help other women with It Works and its own mission, like it's still financially supporting me so that I'm safe and I can pay the lawyer's fees and my son is safe. And so I know I'm going to get to your actual question. And it's just such an important topic for the Pentecost. You guys don't know this, but they're the number one funder of the shelter here in Manatee County. This is such an important issue. Nobody knows that, but I do now because I live here, but I didn't know it before I came here. So it's just very full circle. So, It Works gave me an opportunity to kind of start dripping my story and tell it. And then all of a sudden what happened was I saw that as I shared my story in these contexts, women would flood my inbox or on the comments. I went through that. I'm going through that. My sister's going through that. And I was like, nobody's talking about domestic abuse on social media the way that, we've seen Black Lives Matter or Me Too rise up. Like everyone knows what those hashtag means. There's nothing like that for domestic abuse, yet 1 in 3 women go through domestic violence. We're not even talking about verbal abuse yet. So it's so prevalent. And so all of that, just like all of these It Works opportunities and the skill set and the social media awareness, like all that dovetailed into me creating the organization where we really focus on sharing stories and getting loud on social media about domestic abuse and what it does. And there's a much bigger mission, which again, I will put a pin in that for today, and there's a much bigger story. It's just so crazy. Like it was all purpose built that I joined It Works. And like now I feel like I told Kinsey before I interviewed for the fall conference, like I'm now the tip of the spear for, the It Works Gives Back Foundation on domestic violence, whereas this company literally saved my life. Like I don't know that I'd be alive. So it is crazy. But practically, how do you do it? So practically, again, I think it just comes from taking those baby steps and building, one piece at a time and winning small wins. Breaking things up, okay? Because the looking at the big picture of where I wanted to go from July to now, I probably would have drowned. But those taking little baby steps. Okay, first I gotta incorporate this puppy. Okay, I gotta have branding. Okay, I've got to have articles of incorporation. Like I gotta get the tax stuff set up. I gotta have a bank account. Like all this stuff. Just every day I'd say, what's one thing I can do? When it comes to It Works now, I have to say that finding my passion, it took me some months to get organized on that and feel like, okay, Stronger Than Silence, this is just my green. Okay. I was like, I have to get that good. I'm not like perfect, but it just needs to get going. And then I'll swing back to my business. Well, then they drop Christmas Cash. And I'm like, hello, yes. Okay. That gave me a purpose. So bottom line, where I'm going with that is I'm more passionate about my business than I've been in a long time, like since I went ambassador almost 2 years ago, because I'm so excited what that money can do. It gives me the freedom of time to build this whole other organization. I basically can work full time for that for free right now because I can build this amazing income through It Works. It's just made me excited, just meeting new women in different contexts, right? So I'm not pitching the business to people that are survivors and sharing the story. I don't mean it that way, but I see the connection of how this opportunity can help more people in a very clear way right now, because I'm constantly talking to women that are trying to get out of very bad situations. Again, I'm not pitching the business to them, but it's just like, I can see how much we need to have this vehicle in this country, so if that makes sense at all. I don't even know if I answered your question, but that's kind of a, an all over the place answer.
You did. It's the small.
But I think the biggest thing is know your vision, know your goal. And we've talked about it multiple times, work on it daily, take those little wins and build off of them. Because once you're confident from little wins, you can go for bigger wins. It's when you can't go for the big win if you have no small wins. Well, I can't say that's not the wrong way to put that, but it's much harder, so get those small ones, get that one LC in before you worry about 3 Christmas caches. Okay.
Yep. That's my thing. Even with new distributors, it's like, how fast can I get them their first win? Because if I can get them their first win, it will encourage their heart to keep moving forward and get more wins.
100%.
Yeah,
100%. And I know we're focused on Christmas cash, but guys, the fact that they're coming back with a new bonus, like a freaking week or so later, I'm so jazzed, because what Christmas cash has really helped me re-energize myself and my own business. I know that those of us that have really like come to that and gotten much more intense the last couple months, 3 months with it, just wait to and we've all seen that some people are getting 2, 3, 4, 5 Christmas cashes. Let's all make a pact tonight. We want to be those people for the next bonus. I mean, that's kind of what I said. I said, that's great that I got my 1 Christmas cash. I'm going to go crush this next bonus, because I know I can, because I just did one, right? It's that small win, get into it. Well, it's not a small win, but that medium win, then let's get the big win. There's no reason that they can do it and we can't. So I'm so ready to get 2 or 3 or 4 or the next one, depending on what they do.
Me too, girlfriend. Me too. Next conference, we're gonna be on stage together. Okay,
100%.
We're gonna be down on the floor. I'm gonna be joining you guys on the floor. Okay, all of that. I might even hold the mic by the time.
Let's do it. I love it.
I
love it.
So, with it being 3 days left to get Christmas cash, what are some practical tips you can give us, especially those who are really in the trenches and really going for it and really fighting
100%.
to go make it happen?
So some of you guys may already be doing this, but I'm just going to say what I would tell my team and what I would do. Like, again, it's not rocket science. It's just being stupid loud. Go live everywhere. Go live in your stories. Go live on your timeline. Go IGTV live if you're an IG person. Tell them short and sweet. Doesn't need to be 10 minutes. Hey guys, I'm going for a $5,000 bonus. I need to have, X number of orders. Give them a countdown. People like countdowns. All right. They want to be part of the countdown. I need X number of orders by Friday night. And I really, really need your help. Guys, women respond. Well, men respond too, but women that are typical consumers respond when you say, I need help. It is a trigger for a lot of us women. Let me run and help. Okay. So ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Okay. Just be honest. The right people will, what I found is when I'm loud, the right people come to me, and it's not always going to be who I predict. It might be my Aunt Susie that I haven't talked to in a year and a half, but she's like, oh, I saw you in your post. Let me get a cleanse, like whatever. So first thing is go live everywhere. I mean, starting tonight, but like just stories, IGTV live, and Facebook live. Tell them what the stakes are. Use reels. You can use reels for that. Short and sweet. Be genuine. Tell them what you're going to use the money for. I love that you asked me that question. People will help you if they know what the money is for more clearly. Okay. They really will. If you say, this is going to pay off our credit cards. This is going to pay for Christmas. This is going to pay off my student loans or medical debt, like whatever it is. Okay. Be really, or if I'm paying for a wedding, something like that, anything, it can be a positive thing. It doesn't have to be debt. Be specific about that. And then back that up with great posts. Okay. So it should be product of the product posts, meaning selfies, because people respond to selfies more than they do anything. Holding the product, but saying, but be loud about what you're going for and why in the post, and just, hey, I need your help. Now, of course, you can also throw up those, cute little cleanse pictures or gummies pictures with all the gummies. Mix those in too. And I don't mean like post 4,000 times a day, not necessarily that, but you can be pretty aggressive. I'd say post at least a couple times a day. Maybe one is a live, one is post, and then do multiple stories. But the biggest thing is be loud. So that's all the front stuff. And then messaging is just like, honestly, when I was fighting for everything, I just would print out my Facebook list and everybody pretty much got a message that I had any avenue to write.
Good. Be loud.
Be loud in the messages too. Same deal. Hey, I really need, I'm so sorry to bug you. I'm going for this big bonus that will do X, Y, and Z. If it's a good time for you at all, I always give them an out so I don't seem like an AH. I'll say, if it's good time for you, I'd so appreciate it. Like, I just need so many orders to get this bonus. Just
Yeah.
lay the stakes right out there, but still short and sweet. Don't make it too long.
Yes. People like to be a part of something. I love that you say that because
100%.
they really like to be a part of something. They love to be solicited for help and all of that.
Yeah.
So I'm sure going to implement this countdown and rally these people so we can get this Christmas cake.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I love it.
Yes. And so, okay, we're coming up on the time. So
Okay.
I'm going to have you first speak to a new distributor. So if the new distributors who are on here, they could be just signed up today, you know, a couple weeks or whatever. What would you say to encourage their hearts or get them moving? Because I mean, they got 3 days too to get Christmas cash. So what would you say to them?
Yeah, I would just say, you know, you signed up for a reason, and this is just such a blessing to be able to go for this bonus as a brand new distributor. And so, you know, it's always going to be scary. It's really normal if you have some fear, but leave nothing on the table, because the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to make some extra money, bonuses that you would have not, you know, you wouldn't have made. And the best thing that could happen is you hit this bonus and you get to run. You're learning, you're growing. So don't be too tough on yourself. Just, you know, fight as hard as you can, do the things. And worst thing that's going to happen is you'll make a bunch of money, you'll learn some new stuff, and you'll be set up perfectly for the next bonus.
Yes. And then for those of us who have been here and may have not even completed one personal form one and may be discouraged or feeling defeated, what would you say to that person?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, you know, there's no difference between who you are and who I am. Anybody can be successful in this business, and sometimes it's just finding what your road is and your path is. So with just the 72 hours left in Christmas cash, just, you know, do something that is a little bit out of step and see what happens, see what feels right, go out of your comfort zone. You know, the biggest thing you can do is learn from people that are succeeding. So somebody that on your team that's doing the right things, ask them, hey, can you tell me what your day is like, or what your yesterday was like when you signed 2 LCs? Walk me through what you're doing. And then I think the biggest thing is, again, with 72 hours left, it's like, go for the small win. Again, worst case, if you just earn a 150 the next 3 days, that's $150 you did not have. And that's a new distributor under you that now can grow and run with you. So I think that's the biggest thing is, you know, not every time are we going to hit a home run, but always look for how you can get out of your comfort zone, learn from people who are succeeding, and take at least a small win and embrace it and love it and celebrate it.
Yes, because even if you don't hit it, you're that much closer to where you want to be in your business anyway. Christmas cash is just the icing on the cake, but the compensation plan is great within itself. So yes, thank you so much, Mira. This was so good. Listen, I have to go back and watch the replay because there were so many things that I know I missed. So I'm just so grateful for you to give us your time. So many good gems, jewels, nuggets. Appreciate you, especially with it being down to the wire. So thank you so much for joining us. And so would you be willing to pray us out, my friend?
Absolutely. All right. Dear God, please bless all of these ladies on tonight, and any gentlemen as well. Bring us abundance in the next 72 hours. Have everybody please reach their personal best. And I just hope that everybody leaves tonight feeling lifted and confident and ready for more. That they deserve more and are worth so much. Thank you so much. Amen.
Thank you, Mira. It was such a pleasure. You guys go show Mira some love on her page. Just tell her, drop some ahas and tell her how much she helped you guys tonight. But thank you so much, Mira. We really appreciate you.
Thank you. Take care.